Hey everyone, I'm RVRocks, and Pokemon is a franchise that I've always had a little bit of a love for. Back in the day, let's just say I wasn't as affluent as I am now, so the few games I did own, I had to get the maximum playtime out of. I've said this before, but I never really got new gaming consoles between the years of 2006 and 2014. So I had 8 years of just Wii, OG Xbox, and Game Boy Advance gaming. And with that Game Boy Advance came a lot of games that I would fall in love with over the years. Stuff like some weird licensed games, Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and of course, Pokemon Sapphire, which I still own my original copy of. Both my older siblings had save files on this bad boy before I did. But because I was a little bit of a shit when I was younger, I erased them multiple times until eventually they stopped trying and I got my way and got to play through this game in its entirety. And from then on, I was a Pokemon fan. I fell in love with this game. I spent way too long playing it, way longer than any one person should on any one Pokemon game. I actually still have my original save data on this thing. I named it Sean because I didn't know how it was pronounced. And I thought Scene was such a cool name back in the day, so I just kept it. Over the years, my love of Pokemon would fade, but I never forgot those initial memories. So when I saw the series coming back in 3D, I got a 3DS and Pokemon X, and I decided to play the ever-loving shit out of that game. And it invigorated my interest in the series once again, like clockwork. And I've played every game since then. Alpha Sapphire, Sun, and then Shield. Skipping Ultra Sun, of course. I don't think anyone who played the original actually played these games. And while the quality of these games to a large part of the community is questionable, like a lot of people didn't like the loss of style/scale from the series transition to 3D, the dropping of game mechanics after every new iteration, and of course, the national decks, I still found a way to love each game for its individual merits, leading me to the topic of this video. Regardless of the rampaging war in the community about whether or not new Pokemon games are good that has been happening since Unova, I more or less have found a way to enjoy every game in the series that I've played. I mean, it's Pokemon. Even when it's supposedly bad, it has an incredibly solid foundation. I loved the whole friend group dynamic from X. I loved seeing what they did with my favorite characters in Alpha Sapphire. Sun was probably the weakest one for me, you got me there, but I think that Gen 7 has some of the best Pokemon designs across the board in a very long time. And Shield did such a good job of getting me attached to its characters. Regardless of how skin deep they were presented, I fell in love with a lot of these guys because they just had such good character designs. So I was excited for the Sinnoh remakes, a generation I have yet to experience and more evolution of game design to boot. But I can't help but feel a little disappointed by what they actually did announce at that Pokemon Presents event. But I'm also kind of ecstatic for some of the things that Pokemon showed off during that presentation too. When a new Pokemon game comes out, people usually say something along the lines of, it feels like they took 3 steps forward, but 5 steps back. But with these new games they've announced, it kind of feels like they've took 5 steps forward, and then 5 steps back, and then hit the splits in their starting location. It's weird. So here are my incredibly complicated thoughts about the new Pokemon games, and in the nature of making sure that people don't think I'm too much of a blind fanboy or too much of a hater, I'm going to alternate between saying one good thing, a thing I love about the games, and one bad thing, something I hate about the new games. I love that they are using the remakes as an excuse to delve into the history of any one region. We've had snippets of stuff that has changed over the years, like the Mega Mall and Alpha Sapphire, but we've had nothing on this scale before. This makes me especially excited thinking about the future of this series. I mean, Kalos was the location of a giant Pokemon war, right? What if Pokemon Legends Zygarde is something about like a huge Dynasty Warrior style battle with Pokemon? I'll never be against franchise expansion like this. I hate the graphics. I know it's a low-hanging fruit, but come on, look at this. Even the really good looking Switch games are starting to be very underwhelming in my eyes. Especially because over in my house, we just picked up a PS5, and holy shit, the games on that system, not only do they look great, they load like nothing. But the new Pokemon games don't look as good as the good-looking Switch games, and I highly doubt the rumored Switch Pro is going to be able to fix that. Better frame rate and resolution can't fix this, it looks more like an art style problem. See, I can excuse poor performance on the 3DS because the 3DS Pokemon games were some of the best looking 3DS games. However, I do like that more or less we're getting an attempt at that perfect Pokemon game that everyone was bitching should exist when Sword and Shield came out. I still see that stupid image of Red standing in the middle of Breath of the Wild shared online to this day. And while it's unlikely that Pokemon Legends Arceus will be as good as this idea that Pokemon fans keep building and building in their heads and then promptly orgasming over, I think the inspiration is clear as day. I don't like how the Sinnoh remakes look. This is kind of graphics all over again, but I think that this weird chibi art style in 3D just looks off. The Chibi Dawn is cute, and I'm sure that all the other main characters will be adorable too, but am I the only one that really preferred the way that Gen 6 looked? The Chibi models transitioning into full-on models in certain cutscenes works way better there than in here. And I know that they're going for more accurate remakes like one-to-one with actual Gen 4 games, but I preferred seeing the trend of each generation in the current generation's style. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green were just Pokemon Red and Blue if they were made like Ruby and Sapphire. I like what they're doing with Pokemon Legends, keep that, but I would have preferred if Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were just Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in the style of Sword and Shield, instead of making this one the black sheep of the remakes. I know that there was a large group of fans clamoring for this very idea, and more power to them. But I'm one of the ones who would have preferred the alternative, and it would have allowed for some sweeping fixes to Sword and Shield's larger problems. I love how they got another developer on the team to help with this franchise that frankly outgrew its original developer. But I really don't like how they split development to make two games that feel wrong in different ways when they could have just worked together and made one whole game that felt right. And lastly, I like how this is a direct response to the fans. But I don't like that Game Freak still hasn't addressed a lot of the major criticisms that people had with Sword and Shield, a lot of which are justified. Don't get me wrong, I'm no DistantKingdom. I'm not gonna sit here and continuously shit my pants over and over again because Pokemon's not what it used to be, or that Masuda is ruining Pokemon somehow. Nor am I gonna make one of those large, drawn-out videos talking about how done with Pokemon I am and then buy the next game. Nor am I gonna make a song about how bad Pokemon Sword and Shield are. Because what's the point? I typically don't like to address the drama in the community, but I feel like as a member of the community, I kinda have to right now, because it's all that you see. People arguing way too fiercely in either direction of these issues that really don't matter all that much. Over here in my corner, I'm just gonna be praying that the game is good. I'm not hopeful that these games are gonna be anything better than what Sword and Shield were, which, in my opinion, must I reiterate, they were fine. It's one of those games where I liked what was there, but what was there could have been so much more, so it was fine. Pokemon is one of those franchises that everyone hops onto critique while it's in the limelight. And when I say critique, I'm sure you know what I mean. A lot of people make these videos where they just shit on things that other people like in order to get hate clicks under the guise of criticism. You know, one of those things. Pokemon's like that. And if you couldn't tell, I am so over it. So you know what? This is it. This is my one video I'm making about Pokemon. Unless some major announcement comes out, like something about these games is special, or new games come out, or like a Pokemon event, I'm not talking about Pokemon until these games come out. I'm not talking about any gripes I have with the franchise, anything about Sword and Shield, nothing. I'm done. I'll probably still review Pokemon Legends Arceus when it comes out, and maybe the Sinnoh remakes, I don't know, they don't look as interesting to me. But it'll be a good, quiet time on the RVRocks channel until then. And if you want to join me on that quiet good time, why don't you subscribe and ring the bell, like this video, and let me know in the comments your thoughts about the new Pokemon games. Between Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Legends Arceus, I'm probably most excited for Arceus because I want to see what the Pokemon Company does in a completely, unexplored space, you know? Leave your thoughts down there in the comments, or let me know on Twitter at RVRocks, and hey, maybe we'll strike up a conversation. But before you do any of that, I have been RVRocks, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!